Felicia, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
So welcome to the conversation. It's a very quick turnaround, but I appreciate your energy and getting this done. I know you've had a big week, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to share about all of my ups and downs.
Because I caught you on a layover on your way back from the 10K race, track race, correct?
Yes, that's right. I flew from Santa Ana Airport just south of LA to Dallas, Texas, and was supposed to have a super quick layover, but it ended up being delayed 6.5 hours before LaGuardia. So it was honestly meeting you was a great way to fill some of the time.
That's crazy. No, I'm happy to work out. I've actually never said this before, but one way I find guests, I spend an hour a day on Instagram and I just scroll through and try to find cool people. And I actually can't remember, and it's been driving me crazy, how your account popped up on mine. But
Mhm.
I clicked through it, and then I started looking through some of your reels and your content. And yeah, I enjoyed your transparency. You seem to be a pro athlete, but that was very, I guess, real, if that's the right word, or open and honest. So
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, especially if you're referencing like my fitness account, it's very much Felicia with a side of like pro athlete and med student. I feel in less of like a gimmicky trying to always advertise, sell something, because that's something yeah, I just try to put out what people are asking, what is going on in my life, just kind of whatever I want. And I feel that makes social media more fun to me, instead of trying to make it something it's not.
yeah, you weren't there wasn't like a Saucony link in bio after every reel kind of
No,
thing, or like all
no.
these crazy. Your edits are good, but it wasn't like this like cinematic professional thing. You're just taking a video, putting some captions up, a
Yep.
couple B rolls, and then sending. So
Yeah. If anything, one would argue the editing is pretty poor, but that's because I only have so much time on my hands. And even videos I just take them in one take. Like if I'm doing a face talking video, I just do it in one take and then edit some of the pauses and then it's off. So, yeah. And then my second rule, other than being like super authentic, is hardly try to ever sell the consumer something because I think the last thing we want is to be like unwinding on social media and then be reminded that our sport has a financial barrier to it, where you have to buy the sunglasses and the gear and the gels and the socks and the outfits and the sports bras. I kind of just think that this sport of running should be as accessible as possible.
and you don't get pressure from your from Saucony or anything to push those products or
No, no, not at all. I feel like being a pro athlete for a run clothing and shoe company is very different from being partnered with, say, like a protein powder company or like a headphones company or a pillow company where you really do have to have deliverables. But luckily, being a pro athlete for Saucony and what I understand other companies to be, the deliverables are like, we want to see you race. That's what we want to see you do. So even if your content is non-existent, we would still take you on.
right. So if you didn't have, I mean, yeah, I guess like Galen Rupp, he's never had social media, but he's been with
Right.
Nike forever. So if you're
Mhm.
crushing races, it doesn't really matter if you have social media or not.
Yeah, and that's a question I get a lot, like, some female sub-elite runners will say, like, "At what following did you end up getting partnered with Saucony?" I said, "That's actually different. A following would mean maybe if my dream company was to partner with, like, I don't know, Morton, then maybe Morton would wanna see that I have 100K followers." I'm making these numbers up because I actually have no idea, to be frank, but luckily with a company like Saucony, or if I tried to do a company similar to that and be pro with them, it has a lot more to do with times, to be honest, which takes the
Mm.
pressure off feeling like you have to be an influencer in order to be salaried for the sport that you love. It's more just, okay, well, did I make Olympic trials? Have I shown up in this half marathon? Have I shown I can do well at bigger stages? And then the pro company will be more likely to take you on.
Interesting. This is all learning for me. I've never talked to a pro runner before. So I guess that's good though, right? It's the right style because it allows the athlete to focus on what matters the most. And that's in the best interest of both parties to win races or show up to the big races and do well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess now that makes me curious. Have you interviewed or personally interacted with pro athletes who felt like a strong pressure from their signed company to constantly be posting?
Great question. Damn. No,
Okay,
no, I
okay.
haven't. No. I've had conversations with, well, quite a few pro athletes. I'm only at 10 episodes now, but I recorded,
Mhm.
I probably have like 30 in the chamber, to be honest with you. So I posted a couple of pro athletes, but they also, it's hard to explain. They also coach in their sport. So it'd be like if you were running, were also a run coach and had like
Okay.
40 athletes. So there's kind of that combination. So they're kind of in positions where most of their salary or income doesn't come from the companies out there. Like they get a salary from them for sure,
Mhm.
but a higher percentage is from their athletes. So they're kind of in a position where they wouldn't, if they got that pressure, and I know them pretty well, they would be like, nah, I'm not interested in that style. But
Yeah.
I do know, I won't say any names, but I do know people that have not Gymshark specifically, but bigger brands like that that sponsor them. And there is a bit of pressure around it for sure. Like you got to keep a
Sure,
certain
sure. So
look.
that's a good example of a company that's not like it's not a pro running company necessarily or like a pro weightlifting company. That's literally just a clothing brand that wants deliverables like content. So yeah, I've been lucky to be with a company that doesn't put any pressure on that. I do
Oh yeah.
think that like that we're dancing around the concept of this dichotomy we're experiencing in sports right now, which is a lot of the money and attention is on like the influencers who might not be the best at their sport, but they're the best at making their sport look and seem and be fun, versus like the pro athlete. Like, does Helen Obiri even run her own Instagram account? Like, I highly doubt it. I think she just wants to run and that's what she's concerned about. She's not like taking selfies on the start line of the London Marathon that she's about to do?
Yeah.
So there's these sort of two categories. And I think the pressure to produce content is way more strongly on that influencer category than it is on the pro athlete, where it's just, hey, stay healthy, show up, perform your best on a big stage. And that's all we ask of you.
And some of those influencers, some of them are pretty good.
Well, true. No, no, no. And some of them
No, I'm
achieve.
not saying that you, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm not saying that you implied that they're not, but I just think it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting that what's his name? I don't know his first name, but Truett, Cam Haynes' son, he just ran like a 2:30
Oh,
marathon, like those guys, right? Like, and some of the
yeah.
girls were running some good times.
Oh, absolutely. And also no hate on them because I would argue that in general the average salary and yearly income of someone in that category might be more than like the pro athlete because their full-time job is partnering with companies and after so many deliverables they've done, they probably rack up a really nice chunk of change.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think all the power to both sides. I'm not by any means diminishing like, you know,
What are your thoughts on people using GoPros and video footage of themselves while they're racing on course?
I think do whatever you want, really.
Hmm.
I would say if someone is going for a PR, maybe not, because then I would think that that was a sacrifice. But I do think that some people, for instance, run the Disney half marathon just for a fun run and because they want to enjoy every moment. Then I think bring your GoPro.
What do you think about people that are maybe not competitive to win the race,
Hmm.
but they're sub-elite? So the folks that are running, just say for the woman out there, they're running like sub 3, like maybe like 250, and they're out
Hmm.
there with their GoPros. Like they're running pretty fast in groups. Like, do you think there should be a limit on that or
I mean, I think if that's what they want to do, and or they were potentially paid by a company to record and wear certain things, then like, I think that those people get hate, but what other people don't realize is behind the scenes, there's a chance that that lip gloss they're wearing, the company said, "We'll pay you 5K to come run this race," right?
right?
So then these influencers get ridiculed for being like, "Oh, she runs a 2:55 marathon and she ran it with a GoPro, like, she's so silly." But I'm thinking she might have just made more that morning than you would have in a week.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about it too, right? Is because then when you kind of flip it, you can ask those individuals who don't like it, if you got paid that amount of money to do it, would you do it? And I think the answer would probably be yes for most people. I can see though at like, for an example, an egregious example would be at your 10K race. I think that'd be a little ridiculous. And
Yeah.
that's like a safety issue. But again, that's or when you run the next time you run New York City Marathon, like I don't think you could have elite group of girls that are running in a pack together using GoPros. I think that'd be pretty dangerous at those paces. But I don't
No,
know. I'm not a pro runner, so
yeah, nor have I felt like when I meet the elite field women, that is like the intention or mentality of honestly any of them.
got it.
Um, yeah. If
You would
anything, I might be towing the line of more of a content creator than the other pro women I compete against. And that's looking at someone who has barely over a 10K and really not so new to the whole content thing. I don't really even consider that like a thing that I do. Um, Plus, there is probably pressure from people who are very competitive in the sport. So maybe you have a coach that helped coach you to a 2:29 marathon. If every day you were posting your workouts, your strength training as open maybe as I am, your coach or your agent might be kind of mad. They might be like, "Stop posting all of your workouts and all the races you're doing because that's half my job. That's, what I gatekeep on purpose to protect my salary." Whereas since I'm coachless and agentless, I don't have a pressure to gatekeep anything. That's another thing too, I think people don't think about.
right. I'm gonna pause you for a second. I actually do a small intro of every guest. Our
Oh,
conversation
okay.
just flew so naturally and got into it that I didn't want to disrupt it. The reason why I do it, I always say like no one's above or below an intro. Reason is like this isn't a niche podcast. So last week there was a Stanford aerospace scientist.
Yeah.
The week before was a pro female bodybuilder. So
Yeah. No,
like
your listeners won't know me. So you'll definitely need, like, they fully won't know me. So,
no, and a lot of people obviously are going to come from your side of it, but I think that it just gives like a kind of a point of reference if we were talking to.
yeah.
Um, so I do it in like 1 minute or less, but what I have you at is, yeah, just 23. You qualified for the Olympic trials as a swimmer when you're in high school. You're a Harvard graduate, finished your degree in 3 years with a 4.0. You're
Yes.
an NCAA Elite 90 award winner, a Big Ten swimming champion, and soon to be medical doctor from the NYU Grossman School of Medicine.
Yes.
Your coaches at Harvard, I actually found an article, and some of them said that you're one of the best swimmers in the history of Harvard for female swimmers, but that's their opinion. I'll leave it there. And then more recently, you became one of the faster marathon runners in America on the female side, running a 2:35:17 at New York City and qualifying for the Olympic trials. That's in 2028, I believe. And then just last weekend, as we talked about, you had a great 10K, 32:04, and won the race. And I was going through all of your reels and saw a video. You have a recorded 86.5 VO2 max,
Yes.
which is 22 points higher than my all-time recorded VO2 max. And you are officially running professionally for Saucony.
Yes. That is all correct. Other than people will come at you if you say that I won the 10K because I won the B heat.
Got it. Got
Like, technically, Shelby, Houlihan won, then Jess McLean, then some international people, then me.
Right. Okay, cool. Thanks
Once
for
they
clarifying that.
yeah, so you could just say, "I won my heat at the 10K,"
Got it.
and
Yeah,
that would be great.
I'm not super familiar with, like, the niches of that structure, so, no, that's a good correction. I'm
Yeah.
curious, though, when you hear me say all of that, do you think you're elite?
To like, when I hear that, I just am like, "He's just talking about my life, like, the stuff that's happened in my life." Like, it felt like if someone was like, and then, Grandpa Rick took his family camping in 2019, and then in 2020, he won an award for a deer hunting. Like, I don't know, it just feels regular, I guess?
Got it. It doesn't, elicit any, like, strong confidence or ego in you that, like, you're better than or you're on a pedestal compared to other female athletes?
No, no, I don't think that because I think that everyone shines, like, truly in their own. There are lots of things I'm not good at that other people are really good at, so
Mm. What was growing up in Ohio like for you?
So, I was a very active kid, mostly because I had 3 older sisters who just encouraged me to do all of the things they were doing, and I wanted to be just like them. So my mom was stay-at-home mom, dad registered nurse, and his schedule was one where my parents were extremely present in my life growing up. And for that, I'm forever thankful. I feel like in from the ages 3 to 17, for a child to feel like their siblings, if they have them, and parents love and support them endlessly means more than any genetics they have, any job that their parents have, no matter what. Um, we did things like camping and hiking, and yeah, I would say we came from, like, definitely humble beginnings. I didn't have an upstairs or downstairs. I grew up in a ranch, but we made things work, and my sisters, I'll be forever thankful that they got me into swimming and running because they were the first ones to do it, and I said I wanted to do the same. And then I really just fell in love with the sports and took them to a whole different level. But yeah, I have extremely positive memories about my childhood.
Your parents are still together,
Yes.
and you're still obviously in touch with everyone?
Oh, of course. Before this call, was on FaceTime with my mom for an hour. Before that, I called my oldest sister for an hour and was texting my other two sisters earlier in the morning. And my dad as well. So every day I'm in contact with several of them. Yeah.
I'm curious, you said something that your parents were very present and it's more important than their title, income, or genetics.
Yes.
And do you feel with you spending so much time towards medicine and sport, you're not as present as you would like to be to other people in your life? And the intention behind that question isn't to put you in a corner,
Mhm.
but there are going to be a lot of people that listen to this that are hyper dedicated to their craft and probably feel like they're not present enough. So I'm curious your perspective.
I've learned that everyone has their own, like, optimal cup depth that needs to be socially fulfilled. And I think that some people refine their craft and never feel socially isolated because they don't need that much social interaction to lay their head down at night and think, I'm really happy. I, on the other hand, am someone who holds my friendships and interactions with immediate family, even though they aren't geographically near me right now, as almost as close as how much I hold sleep, which is the number one. But I would say, like, my social fulfillment is super important to my mental and physical health. So I'm pretty intentional with spending time with friends and family. In medical school, I wouldn't say a day went by where I didn't do at least something with a friend. And sometimes I'll admit it has to be like they mentioned a coffee and I said, let's lift together because I needed to get my lift in. Or they mentioned an evening out, but I wanted to go to bed. So I said, let's play cards from 4 to 5 p.m. So have I been high maintenance and changed the plans to reach my social fulfillment? Yes. But yeah, I think you'd be surprised. I really just multitasked a lot as well. Like I stay in touch with all of my old Ohio State college and high school friends via like calls while maybe we're both at the grocery store. They're like running to Trader Joe's and they live maybe in SF and I'm running to Target and I live here in New York and we're just on the phone. So I definitely need that in my life for sure.
Yeah, I always try to play it in my head because I think people who become exceptional often find that um, in solitude. But
Mm.
isolation is also one of the main drivers for poor health, long-term health
Yes.
outcomes. And some might, in recent research, might say it's getting close to as bad as smoking. Um,
Hmm.
but so I was just trying to find that balance because I know a lot of really elite athletes that are alone a lot. And I
Yeah.
think they probably would be better off if they had more of a social life. So how are you managing to do that in your week? Because you have all of these things going on. How do you structure it throughout your entire from Monday to Sunday to say?
You know, it is almost sounds like it's sucking the fun out of hanging out with people, but to me, it's the only way to achieve all the things I wanna achieve in a given day. I literally slot it. Like, I might tell my college friend, "Let's call from 4 to 4:30 Eastern Time," and, maybe that's different for them. Or if I'm doing like a potluck with my friends and I send out like a party full RSVP, I have a start and an end time because maybe I have to go do something after, or maybe I need to get to bed. But I think the biggest part about staying socially fulfilled in a season of life where you feel extremely busy is just being intentional and specific with it. And instead of like taking that random half hour to doom scroll, like texting your friend and saying, "Hey, I only have 30 minutes right now, but do you want to quickly walk to the local Panera Bread and get our unlimited sip club?" Like that's something that sounds oddly specific, but something that I've done that has made me feel happy then when that hangout is over. So, just living every day with purpose and not being afraid to like send a Google Calendar invite to someone, even if it feels kind of formal. Now, what there's of course something that always has to give, right? If I'm socially fulfilled, getting my sleep, doing my whole med school in 3 years and all my athletics, what it has to give, I've noticed is like spontaneity. Like most of if you were to ask me, "Oh, let's extend this call also for like another hour to talk about I don't know, our favorite kind of flower." That sounds super fun and I love talking about flowers, but I would have to say no because I already have something literally scheduled like right after. Which is sometimes difficult because you can't be a go with the flow kind of person, but it's the way it has to be.
Does being not calendared or schedule ever drive you crazy?
No, it relieves me of feeling like my day is wake up and I have these 8 things, but I don't know when and how I'm gonna do them. It feels like, "No, here's the path. This is the way." Whereas I think that some people are a bit more type B, and no hate to my type B friends because there are a lot of things I admire about type B people that I wish I had more of and need to have more of and I'm working on, um, because we all have room to grow, but is that people feel like the activation energy to accomplish a task is higher when they don't have a specific way to and plan to accomplish those tasks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
Like, if
sure.
you have to do laundry, grocery, call mom and dad, do 40 practice questions and do all your flashcards and get that run in, but you don't know when you're gonna do those, then why not doom scroll for an hour in your bed, right? Because you don't have times to do those. But if you put it on your calendar, you can't doom scroll because it's in your calendar.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a call this week with someone and I was explaining the baker versus chef. And, a baker would be someone who has to have all the ingredients perfectly weighed out, the oven at a certain temperature, a certain
Mhm,
duration of time they're cooking that product. And then you have a chef who can just get a bunch of random things in front of them, throw it on a pan and just make something work. And
mhm,
I find that there's kind of two groups of people where there's someone like you who's obviously a baker, where you have everything kind of measured and timed out, and that's where you perform your best. And if you get the baker to try to live like a chef or a chef to live like a baker, what ensues is chaos, if that makes
mhm.
sense. And I think
No,
that
yeah.
because there's not like a one size fits all. I would argue that the baker is probably the better approach for most people, especially nowadays. But I always just try to find when I'm talking to people, like what side they kind of lean towards. Most people on this podcast, though, are definitely the baker side that are very,
Right, I was gonna say
uh
I feel like you're selecting for the baker side.
yeah, for sure. Like almost everyone, yeah, I'm trying to think now. Yeah, almost everyone's kind of on the baker side. I have a couple people that are more on the chef side that are like world renowned at what they do, but it's very rare.
Mhm,
Very rare. Everyone else is very, very calculated. And it showed through it kind of when we met or when we were talking, it was just very like dialed in on time slots, which is kind of interesting. But have you operated your, how long have you operated that way for in your life?
since high school. So in high school, I swam year round and then added on cross country in the fall, track in the spring, and then took a lot of advanced placement courses and like AP exams and having a lot of them. It's no joke, as well as just trying to do my best because I knew wanted to be pre med in college and was just trying to set myself up like optimally to perform. And even back then, I remember like meetings with teachers or hanging out with friends were specific times because then I would have to go to swim practice or get home to sleep before my early morning double the next day if I had like a swim and a run or a swim and a swim. So I've been this way for a very long time. Yeah.
Got it.
But, like, I guess okay, I'm curious to ask a question back to you.
Sure.
Do you feel like in the time when you were most honed in on accomplishing some of your, like, wildest athletic achievements and, like, the records that you've set, do you feel like that socially isolated you? Would be the first question, and then if it did, was that because other people couldn't relate to what you were trying to achieve or because you literally didn't have time for them?
You would be a better podcast host than me. Um, I would say that in order for me to do what I did, I had to be isolated for sure. And again, I'm gonna pull that like kind of cheesy card, but I generally wasn't. I'm late to athletics, 20 years old, and I don't have a lot of like underlying amazing genetic background. I probably have a little bit of above average genetics. So I had to put in a lot of extra work in that sense. And then the relatability piece, yeah, I think that naturally I distance myself because I don't think there's a lot of relatability with people when you're doing 1,000 pull-ups before work and then after work at 3 in the morning, you're running a half marathon for sleep deprivation training. I think a lot of people didn't understand it. And
Mhm.
I think that created some natural separation for sure. So I think that's probably like the main reason for that process. But yeah, I did an isolated path because in order for me to get through some of the ultra endurance events that I had, is I was in my own head suffering. So I try to practice that a lot in my day-to-day life.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, Not advisable for people unless they're actually if unless they're trying to go for something like that. 'Cause I think it had a
Mhm.
lot of significant negative impacts on my mental and physical health, but um, I don't also think that I could have achieved what I did without it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah. I think the example you give is one that might work for some time, but we all know it's not sustainable, you know?
I don't think it is. And I think
Yeah.
that you get into a weird place, right? Because we see certain personalities online, and I used to be like that, right? So my old content that I don't have up anymore was like that David Goggins style kind of stuff. And as I've matured, I've just realized like that's just not the way I want to live or my energy.
Mhm.
And um, I think when you're young, you can have dials and switches, right? So for someone like yourself, I mean, we just literally met, we talked for 40 minutes before, but you can have a dial, two dials, right? Turn way up. But if you want to have a family and kids, like eventually that's got to change. So I
Right.
think for me, when I talk to athletes in general, I'm not your coach. I'm not giving you a direct advice, but is when you're in your young 20s to turn those dials up. Because the only
Yeah.
thing that I regret, honestly, is not having my dials turned up even more.
Mhm.
I don't know if do you drink?
No.
You don't drink. Have you ever had any alcohol in your life?
Like, I had a fun time in college, but just none
No,
now.
okay, got it. Yeah, so for me, like, I would regret any of the times I went in and drank, right? And I wasn't like an alcoholic, but yeah, like I would go out on the weekends with my friends or go to the club or something. And I wish I didn't do that. And I had my dials turned up more because now that I'm retired in career-ending surgery, which can happen to anyone at any time,
Mhm.
I definitely now that I have a lot more time to turn my dials down and enjoy a lot of things in life. Yeah, I wish I turned my dials up a lot more when I was younger, when I was your age. So whenever I hear, like, now I'm on this ramp. Whenever I see people like yourself that do all of this and turn your dials way up, I understand it from a place of you have a window. Like,
Right.
what's your window to 35? Maybe. I know Chanel Flanagan ran to her late 30s. That was pretty good. But like, what would you think like your peak of your career is going to last until like 35?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, I will add just out of respect for these amazing women that I personally know at least 3 women who have OTQ'd over the age of 39 for the 2028 trials. But even
That's
those
great.
women have admitted, like, that they feel like they're past their PR prime.
Right.
So if we're talking about, like, elite PRing, yeah, I would say I'm hoping to do that until early 30s.
Early 30s, right. So you have from 23 to, so we'll just say, give or take, you have 8 years. And the average life expectancy in the States, I think, is 78. So you have a small percentage of time, if you really think about it,
Yeah.
to make it happen. And you have a lot of time to make a lot of other things happen that you can get done without the requirement of being in your absolute physical peak and prime.
Mhm.
So when I listen to individuals like, I've had my boy, love him, Adam Jansen, he's the GOAT. I've
Mhm.
had him on twice now. I'm actually going to his place to train next week, I think, to record it. But same thing, like he's got a small window to make it happen. So that's it. He trains, he has a girlfriend, but that's his life. That's it.
Yeah.
So for people
Right,
like
it's
you
like,
that do
why
that,
not be a maximalist in the window where you can be a little selfish and just focus all on you?
but do you
Because
ever
some
have
people
regrets or shame around being selfish? Because you are selfish. And I'm
yeah.
not saying that in a derogatory way, but
No,
you
no, I
can.
am. I
I get
say it.
okay, got it.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that do I have regrets or shame? And then I'll get back to what I was originally saying, but around being selfish, no, because a lot of people are selfish in their own right in their early 20s. It's just that for some reason, society finds like maybe being boy crazy and I could be overgeneralizing, but for a 24-year-old girl, being boy crazy, drinking, and like dabbling in drugs to be less selfish than like one needing resources to have absolute physical peak performance to go perform on a very large stage. Right? But like those are equally are just doing what we want to do. And I'm not saying like anything's right or wrong, but both are kind of like, no, the world just revolves around me type mentalities. So I think that a lot of people have lived their young 20s differently, but still with that mentality of like, I'm kind of invincible. Not a lot of people rely on me. I can do what I want. And I think that we should be entitled to do that. Until then, yeah, I have more people relying on me and children or whatever it might be.
You want children?
Yeah, I think eventually I would like to have children. I think that the problem with the path to medicine is because it takes so long to be an attending physician who has that like very much more comfortable, super nice salary. That takes a long time. And so not a lot of people feel financially ready or like they've been fully trained as a doctor to want to have kids. So that is another reason why I probably won't have them for a very long time. Also super open to adopting, which doesn't put any biological clock on me. So it's kind of far from my brain right now. But yeah, people will say all the time, "Oh, well, your schedule wouldn't look like this if you either had 80-hour work weeks like you will when you're a resident doctor, or if you had kids." And I'm thinking, yeah, no, I know my schedule wouldn't wouldn't look like that if those were my realities. But this is my schedule now and I'm maximizing it. So why would I not try? And then I'll adjust when I need to adjust, you know?
Yeah, it's always like a doomer mentality, right? When people imply that on you. Because one thing that I've always had implied on me was well, when you get a girlfriend, it's like, got it. So when I did have a girlfriend for 3 years, I just shifted. I got up at 4 in the morning. Like you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
got the work in. Like you can just shift. Also, one thing that's interesting too is that there's always someone who's done it. So why can't I? And I'm not
Mhm.
saying I can't be LeBron James, but in terms of like for you, I'm sure you could find, you know more about them than I do, but I'm sure you can find a professional female runner who has kids that crushes it. Like
Oh,
it's
yes,
possible.
absolutely. Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
people, do you know who Matthew Marquardt is?
I do. We actually swam a few times together back when I swam for Ohio State for a little.
Got it. Yeah. And it's funny because I messaged you on Instagram, and the next person that popped up on my Instagram was him, and I messaged him as well. But you guys are both doing the same thing, right? You're pro endurance athletes
Mhm.
and you're in med school.
Mhm. Yeah.
People can do it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I have so much respect for him. In fact, I joke to my parents a lot if ever it's been a long day and I just talk about how there's a lot on my plate. And I'm like, I'll get through it though. They always say, you know who else actually understands what you just described your day as? Matthew Marquardt. And I'll say, you're right, he does understand. And even like back when I wasn't a med student yet, but I just looked up to him for being able to balance it all. And interestingly, a lot of people had asked me, are you going to do what Matthew Marquardt did and take a year off of med school to like kind of see your athletics through for a year just pro and then go back, even if it delays a year? And I mean, my answer to that was no, because then when you return, you still have to do it and you're still delaying that long, long process. But he has returned to medical school and is managing it all. So I just have a lot of respect for that individual. He's a really cool, down to earth guy.
Yeah, like you can do it. And I haven't gotten to a lot of his content, to be honest with you. I'm more of a Lionel Sanders kind of guy, but I uh I saw what he was doing and then I saw what you were doing. And yes, sure, it's impressive, got it. But what's more cool for me on this side of it is you both are kind of trend setting the realm of possibility for people that
Mm,
they can excel as a pro athlete, medical school, to say law school, something that's really intensive for schooling, right? That you
mhm.
can do both. I think there's a risk and there's consequences to it, but there's only I don't think there's winning and losing. I think in life there's only trade-offs, but you can do it and you're obviously showing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the most rewarding parts about sharing a little bit on my social media about balancing things or juggling it all or saying like you don't have to choose, you can do two things you really love and be really passionate about both of them is I'll get messages of people saying like I want to do cycling and I'm going to med school right now in San Francisco or in this other place and it's been a lot, but you've shown me that you can balance it all. And that really makes it feel worth it because no one else is up with you when you're doing those 3:30 AM, 4 AM workouts before standing in the operating room for 12 hours. But if I can just give a glimmer of hope to someone who is scared of that, and that's a reason why they feel like they can't balance it all, I just want them to know that, like, you totally can. Again, are some of the things I'm mentioning not sustainable for a long period of time? Yeah, definitely not. Like, I mean, well, we can get into it, but I'm even an example of not everything's gonna be perfectly sustainable, but I think that if you really want something badly enough and you set your mind to juggling it all, you can definitely make it happen.
What emotion do you use to get the job done?
Just passion. Like that I love to run and I love helping patients and learning. So it just comes from like I'm just curious, I want to know more, I want to keep pushing my limits. Yeah, it's like a passion for it.
When did that passion start developing? Is there a moment in your life where you had kind of that aha moment or light bulb moment where you're like, fuck, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Hmm. Okay. I think I can recall two. One is when the Olympic trial standards first came out for swimming. So this would have been back in my senior year of high school. And I looked at them and thought, I can get one of those. I mean, I was really far from them at the time, like proportionally, because swimming, of course, is like if you do a 100-meter backstroke, you might be only 2 seconds away, but 2 seconds when your race is only a minute and 4 seconds is kind of a lot, you know?
Huge, yeah.
But I just thought to myself, like, if I keep training really hard this summer and throughout my career at Harvard, like, I think that I can do this. And then I felt like I took training to a whole different level that summer, really honing in on like nutrition and sleep, more than just your average high schooler who was good at what they were doing and like listened to their trainer. I felt like I really took ownership of it too. I thought, what habits can I form this senior summer that I want to be firm by the time I enter college to be a successful student athlete? So that was the aha moment in swimming, I think. That's when I finally was like taking ownership of my own swim and medical career,
Right.
knowing that a big change was about to happen. Like I was about to move 12-hour drive from home and so much was going to change. And people say when you go to college, all these things are going to be altered that might hurt your swim performance. But I was like set that was not going to happen to me and really made an effort toward that. The second aha moment was, I think, after my first marathon. I thought, I can be really make something out of this. And I started developing goals such as like, what about Olympic trials in running? And also what about pro running? But like farther back in my head. And that's when I started doubling days of like run and Stairmaster or Stairmaster and cycle, more strength training, like eating 5 meals a day instead of four, all these things to make my athletic performance better.
Was NYC your first marathon?
No, when I say my first marathon, that was actually called Revel White Mountains in New Hampshire. Nobody knew me back then, but it was May of 2024 and I went a 2:49. And even then I looked at my training schedule and was like, that was hard, but I think I can do more for my next. So that's when I did Boston in a 2:44 and I just knew I was building toward maybe an Olympic trial qualification.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about you a lot this week in preparation, and I was, yeah, curious about that. Do you think you're stubborn?
In relationships, no.
What
With
about with
myself, yeah.
yeah, got
With
it.
my I feel like I have a high level, I don't know, sometimes stubborn and integrity, like, the line is gray, meaning, like, when no one's watching, I'll do the work that I set out for myself, even if it's so gritty, like, I'm dripping sweat and I don't feel good in the workout that day, I'll do it because I said I would, and I feel like there's some stubbornness there. Sometimes people say, "Well, when your watch says your HRV is low, do you modify your workouts?" And I say, "No. I just do the workout and say get better sleep tonight and eat more or something." Um, but in relationships, not so much because I think you just have to show other people grace and I don't know. I'm trying to probably show myself more grace than learn that in the past like few months. So it's all like a learning process.
Yeah, in this conversation, you the two words that kind of scream at me is passion and stubborn. And it's interesting because sometimes when I use that vernacular, people use as a negative connotation,
Mhm,
but
mhm,
right, of course. But I think you can pivot those words in the right context and nuances to be a positive thing. So I mean stubborn in a good way.
mhm.
I'm very stubborn in those ways as well. I've never let a sleep score or HRV dictate what I'm going to do for the day. I guess pivoting to that, are you someone like do you use a lot of technology for your life? Like are you using like Normatech and heart rate shop in the morning to check your HRV? Like what are you do you go all in on those sides of things?
No, I'm pretty low frills when it comes to that, because, like, med students don't have an income, and they also don't have a lot of time to be, like, norma teching and doing all this extra stuff. I just my biggest number that I always use on my watch is I do like to just look at my sleep and just make sure, "This week, did I balance it well? Did I get my 9 hours average every single night?" And that's the major thing I check. Otherwise, I'm not too big on the numbers. They don't bother me too much. I don't know if that's, like, for better or for worse because I'm sure I could channel my training a lot better if I had more numbers. But the thing about being self-coached is I don't wanna inundate myself with numbers that I don't know what to do with because then I think that would be overwhelming. So if anything, I go more off, like, RPE, when I do my training, and I'm more diligent just about recording everything I did that day in a Google document, so I'm very particular about that, but the other numbers not as much.
Do you
Are
race off?
you? You like, back when you were training, did you look at all your numbers?
No, I used a lot of I use mostly RPE. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I looked at was heart rate
Okay,
because
yeah, I look at zones, I do.
one thing that I learned was when I was doing a lot of pull-ups. So what those sessions would look like would be, I don't know how to pull my notes out, but it'd be like something like I would do between 4 to 7 on the minute for a certain time length. So just say I did 6 on the minute for 3 hours straight. I realized that the lower my average heart rate, the better I felt. So I would between
Mhm,
each set, I was very, very focused and intentional on lowering my heart rate as much as possible.
mhm, mhm.
So a bit of a different context, I guess, than running. When I ran, I only had pace on my watch because
Okay.
heart rate kind of made me neurotic. Because
Yeah.
I mean, just so you know, and people listening, I'm pretty decent at pull-ups. Running, I'm kind of like front of the mill average. But if I'm running like 7 minute mile pace and my heart rate's like 165 one day, but I feel really good, the next day I could run 7 minute mile pace and my heart rate could be 155 and I feel terrible. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes, yeah.
I
Right,
wouldn't,
I've yet to run a marathon where I paid attention to my heart rate for 2 reasons. First, I just back then didn't have watches that were functional or showed heart rate. So there's that. But second, I do feel like even if that was an option for me, you can kind of get in your head if at mile 10 you've spiked and it's now feeling hard to reach that 5:55 pace or whatever it might
Yeah.
be for the marathon you're running. So I get what you mean. It was probably more easy to manage and actionable for the pull-ups for you than it was with the running. Because let's say you're running a 7:20 and your heart rate's 166. What are you going to do about it? You still have to finish the run. So might as
100%.
well not even look at it. Yeah.
And at that point too, if I'm running long enough, like even if I slowed my pace down, like the amount that I would have to slow my pace down to get my heart rate down, like it just wouldn't be worth the run anymore.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was similar to you, I guess, because not in terms of, I should be careful, not in terms of um, skill level or ability, but in terms of like training philosophy. I only ran 4 times a week, and I rarely touched anything outside of 10% of my marathon pace.
Mhm.
That's pretty much all I ran at. So because I was such a low volume runner,
Right.
and I was doing all the pull ups and cycling and things, I always ran pretty much around the same around marathon, which for me would be like, I don't know, whatever for it would be like 7, yeah, I guess 7 minute per mile, I guess. I don't know what that would be. I'm trying to think in miles because you're in miles, but like 4:10 per kilometer. So something around whatever that is in miles. But yeah, no, the heart rate stuff just made me super neurotic and never made me run better. So, and I also think there's one thing that, I ask people when they're retired if they could go back in time, what would be the one thing they would have changed?
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10, it's that they would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and
That's another
how are
thing.
you enjoying training if you're super neurotic on your heart rate and you're overthinking everything? Like, dude, are you not? Because for someone that can't run anymore, I'm literally disabled. So I can walk, but not well. And like to be able to sit there with working legs and running down a road and just acknowledging how fucking awesome that is.
Yes.
Like you got to enjoy it a little bit. Like there's a mix to it, but
Yeah. No, that I actually completely agree with. It's similar to, I'm commonly asked what form of cross training is best. And it truly has to be the one that you enjoy the most because that's the one that's gonna be the most sustainable for you. You'll show up for yourself every day if you're enjoying your workout. You won't show up for yourself if it's just the one that you read online, like some girl that runs your goal pace said online is the best. And right, that might be her opinion too. Like I love the Stairmaster because I can do all my med school practice questions on it. But if you love the rower, then I think row until your heart is, pumping, I guess. But I think that the biggest thing about longevity, mental health, physical health, and sustainability is enjoying what you're doing. And I think that can't be understated.
yeah, it's like you and Parker train very similarly. And I don't
Mhm.
think intentionally it just happened that way. And she does the arc trainer and you do the stairmaster. I mean, you're both excellent at what you're doing. And I know she's a little bit further ahead, but you're on that trajectory. And yeah, I think that's a great point. If you really
Yeah.
enjoy, and I think people like get in that weird mindset, right? And again, David Goggins was one of my inspirations. I'm not like a David Goggins hater. I do like him, but it's one of those things where like, you should suffer and like, I hate running. I'm just gonna run. It's like there's a time and place for that. But that, again, like something that you use that I am learning in this conversation is that's not sustainable forever.
Yeah.
Like you can't hate the Stairmaster and do it for 20 years at a high level. And if you do, you're gonna be fucking miserable.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
what's
You
the
just
point
run
of living
yourself
that?
into the ground. Yeah. And I think, like athletes like ourselves, a big question people want to know is like how to avoid burnout. And it's making daily choices about the things that you enjoy in life and capitalizing on those. Like, even if it requires like taking notes on the workouts you liked more that day and what you liked about them, and then changing your training for the next week. It could be anything, like any kind of reward or an outfit that you like wearing to the gym. It doesn't matter what it is. You just have to like what you're doing for it to be sustainable.
Give me maybe doesn't have to be an exact number, but give me like 5 things that you do in your life that you really enjoy that you just had an outfit to your gym. Is that one of them? Like
Oh, not for me. No, I'm not thinking about. But, like, my FaceTime my mom every single day. Like, I
Oh,
really enjoy that, and that's something I look forward to, and if there's a day where there's been maybe, like, 2 days in New York where that hasn't happened, I've lived here for 3 years, but then it feels like a weird day. I'm like, "I don't know, should I go to bed or, like, what should I do?" So, yeah, there's that. I do love the Panera Unlimited Sip Club, that brings a lot of joy to me.
what is that?
So,
I've
I
never been
don't
to a
don't
Panera in my
know.
life, so
So Panera for a while was running this deal where you could get 3 months free of unlimited fountain or coffee or tea drinks, and
okay.
it was free. And for a while, if you just ended it and re-upped it, you could go, like it would refresh every 2 hours, meaning you could go at 9 AM, 11 AM, 1 PM, 3 PM, 5, 7, and get free drinks all day long.
Mm,
Like, doesn't that sound kinda nice?
that's amazing. I'd be
'Cause
drinking so much coffee.
exactly, and also, drinks in general, like boba, coffee, matcha, all this stuff in New York is so pricey, and I love a deal. I would also say, like, a little hidden treasure thing that I look forward to is, like, a good sale. Like, if there's a sale, not, like, materialistically, but, like, at a grocery store, a sale on something I really need, I capitalize on that thing. The 4th is a good farmer's market. I love a good farmer's market because it's fun to support local, but also it challenged me to try a new, like, herb or a new veggie or a new fruit. And sometimes you meet people and you're thinking like, "Wow, their life is so different from mine." Like, they farm mushrooms and then make it into mushroom jerky, and that's so cool. And now I get to support their business and add another food to the list of things I like. So, there's nothing really bad of an outcome with a farmer's market.
Mm, yeah, those are all good things. Yeah, when you
What
mentioned it, I was
what are
curious.
some that, like, that you love?
Um, fuck, that's a good question. I'm pretty basic. I like going to different coffee shops for sure, like local coffee shops. There's a
Mhm,
couple around my way that I'm now more of a regular at that I just really enjoy. I worked in coffee shops for a very long time through my 20s.
mhm.
So now whenever I see like really cool, like niche ones, if I'm in a new city, I always check one out for sure. And I like to,
Do you mentally rate a coffee shop based on the quality of what you drank or the vibes?
I would say the vibes for sure.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because espresso, like when you have espresso in a good machine, you press go or play or whatever, it's gonna be
Menu.
it's pretty
Yeah.
similar. The vibes for sure. I mean, I actually had a full career and I'm retired now in the hospitality world, so I'm not judgmental. I don't go into places and like have a preconceived notion to evaluate people by any means, but there is like a subconscious level where that happens because that was my life for a long time. But yeah, I think that's it. I think like simple things like I walk the family dog all the time every day
Aw.
to get my steps in for my rehab, so I think that's super important, and the farm here is, like, there's literally I can almost see them. There's all maybe, like, 50 horses at the farm down the way, so just, like, that kinda shit, it's pretty cool. Anything that it's away from my phone for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I love the outdoors. I definitely love the outdoors. I'm with you. It's funny because I get the sense that, like, where you live and where I live are extremely, extremely different.
opposites, yeah. The farm life is the life, though, so I grew up, like not grew up, sorry. I spent my last 4 years in, like, downtown condo, big city, three-piece suit kinda guy, and
Mhm,
now I'm in the farm life, and I'm shocked to say it, but I enjoy it a lot more. Um,
mhm.
also just,
I
like,
think
everything is close. Everyone's way more friendly.
yes, yeah,
It's
that's true.
funny, my buddy came down over Christmas time to visit the family, and we walked the dog, and I'd say, like, "You gotta wave. You have to wave." Everyone here waves to each other, right? But when you're in the city, you're in elevators with people. I'm a friendly guy, so I'll just strike up a conversation, and
Yeah.
people get, like, weirded out about it. I'm like,
Yeah. No,
"Got
people
it.
don't say hi to each other in New York City. It's
No way."
definitely, like, head down, either in the phone or AirPods or, like, looking at a newspaper or something like that. But, okay, the only thing so I think that in another world, I would be a farm. Like, I would wanna live on a farm. But the thing that is the downfall is usually they're kind of far from the nearest healthcare institution, sometimes. It's like
Right.
if sister is having a heart attack, do I want to drive 25 minutes or do I want to drive 7 minutes or
Yeah.
less?
And you have to be within a certain radius of a hospital depending on your surgical practice
Right,
as
that
well, right?
too, exactly. Yeah, like when I'm on my emergency radiology rotation or neuroradiology and like you need to read a stroke or need to go do a lumbar puncture, something like that, or a pediatric patient, you need to do like a barium enema on them because they have necrotizing enterocolitis. Like whatever. I could get into a lot of emergent situations. I realize I could go off on a tangent, but you need to be like near a hospital. So I would say that's my biggest limitation. But in theory, I think that definitely aligns with me. Like I love the outdoors. I would say most the last 2 summers I've spent in New York, most of the time we're in a park or at a farmer's market, which is very much not like city life by any means.
No. I think there's benefits to both. But I can see the city, like I've seen the city life really like take away from people's quality of life more than the farm
Yeah.
life does. You're fine though. I mean, you're so disciplined and on point that that's not going to happen for you. But yeah, I've just seen the city life in terms of like substances and the party
Yeah.
life and going to restaurants and that whole stuff. Been
Yeah,
there,
you know,
done
some
that. It's a
people
cool
say
trip.
like you can't step out foot outside of your apartment in New York without spending money. And to that I disagree. I'm like, no, you just have to live super tactfully, like join a free run club and then like go for walks or host potlucks or just pick other activities that aren't always making reservations.
Have you ever
Uh,
been to a run club before?
yes.
Really?
Well, okay. No.
I'm just poking you a little bit, but I'm
Okay,
just
well,
trying to
like
think
I
of
guess
like a
the history
professional,
of
a
it.
Saucony pro runner rolls up to a run club. Like there's no fucking way.
No, no, you're right. I guess I should clarify. So before I signed with Saucony, I and slash still am affiliated with a sub-elite running group called 212 Athletic here in the city. I ran this 10 miler in Brooklyn and was discovered by a guy who DM'd me after and was like, wow, that was kind of blazing because we all thought you were going to just take it out. And we were like, who is this girl running this pace? She's going to die. And then you didn't, and you did really well. And do you want to join our team? And at first I was skeptical because I'm thinking, how how can I join a team where they want me to practice with them when I do all my workouts at like 4 a.m.? That's never going to work. But when I called with the founders of 212, they were like, we'll be flexible as long as you run races with us and can just be with us like socially and for resources and things. So I'm yes part of a run club and I love 212, but no, have I ever been to a practice? No.
Got it.
But like
I've
you
never been to a run
understand
club
that the
either. I'm not a pro
ideals of
runner.
a run club I love. Like I
Me
love
too.
encouraging the camaraderie and like scoring points for a team, like wearing a uniform, getting people into fitness. That I love.
Same as like people find this surprising about me, but whether it's high rocks or CrossFit, I love
Mhm.
that kind of stuff because I mean
Same.
now more than ever, what in Canada anyways, I think 48% of people are obese. So and it's only getting worse. I know the States is pretty
Yeah.
bad too. So
Yeah.
anything that's getting people into fitness and moving their bodies, I think it's great. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, obesity is an epidemic, and it really is. Screens aren't helping, and it also doesn't help that in a lot of major cities and rural areas, but especially cities, like, why is it cheaper to get a Pepsi and Lay's from the gas station than it is to get, like, spinach leaves and strawberries? You know, and something I appreciate about New York City is they do subsidize produce, so produce is much cheaper by law, but not hardly any other cities do that. And that's what I love about people who share openly about like just low barrier to entry fitness because not everyone can sign up for a high rocks, not everyone has the money to start tennis or some of these other sports, but like anyone can walk, or a lot of people can maybe start to run or join a very like low inexpensive gym and just encourage themselves to go. So I think that's like something else I like about just sharing, again, just very accessible training plans for people who want to start their fitness journey. I think it's so important.
Yeah, and one thing that I find interesting nowadays is I see this online of people talking about walking, and walking for the vast majority of society is a form of exercise.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I know we joked about it before we hit record, like your heart rate's probably like 60 when you're walking, so it's probably not exercise for you. But in terms, I mean, maybe for your mental health, but
Hmm.
For most people are gonna be in like a zone one heart rate or more
Yeah.
walking. Walking's a great form of exercise. So
Yeah, like the American Heart Association recommends that to prevent long-term effects of coronary artery disease or development of it and other cardiovascular like comorbidities, 150 minutes of cardio per week. And I think people hear that and think, well, that sounds like so much cardio per week, 150 minutes. You're right. For the average American, that could just be walking. Literally just walking 150 minutes a week will get you there. And so I think that while both strength training and cardio are super important, like strength training, especially for like postmenopausal women or women with low bone density, but cardio is just important for your just physical health and life expectancy. You do need some form of cardio.
yeah, osteoporosis and aging. It's interesting because like anything, right? You do something, you're not good at it, you get good at it, you do it more, and it kind of evolves. And then
Hmm.
you're doing 2 hours on the Stairmaster in the morning at 4 a.m. I heard
Yeah.
something, I heard you in an interview. I don't know which one it was, so I apologize to whoever was talking
Hmm.
to you. You said you get up at 4 and you're working it at 4:15. What the hell are you doing in 15 minutes to get ready to like how are you working out that quickly after you wake up? Like what's your process there?
So I'll give the caveat that that's for extremely specific months where the rotation required me to be in at 6:30, like 6:30 or 7. Some of the other ones I could push it back a bit and like leisurely walk to the gym at like 5, by 5 or something. But for the months where I needed to fit it all in that way, I would set out my workout clothes the night before, set out the exact pre-workout breakfast the night before and have it on my desk and just have like this three-step routine of make bed, eat, or wait, no, make bed, brush teeth, change clothes, eat breakfast, and be out the door in 10 minutes or so. Yeah.
What's your breakfast before you work out?
Right now, I've been hooked on a scoop of beet powder for like increasing nitric oxide just to dilate my blood vessels. And then I have right now I like Cadence electrolyte caffeine drink. It's like 120 milligrams of caffeine. I have one of those. And then I just take a whole white pita bread with either a little honey or jam, and I eat that. And then I have either a few strawberries, a few grapes, or like a clementine, some sort of other like sugar and applesauce, some other sugar like fruit. And I find that works well for me, even if I have to work out immediately after that. And I think for some individuals who are like, wow, that sounds like a lot to go work out then right after, I feel like you have to train your GI system to tolerate food right before a workout. But it pays dividends because I perform so much better when I have all of that on board. My beets, my fruit, my pita bread with whatever added like sugar on it, and then my caffeine.
And what are you taking intra workout?
It depends. So if I'm going for a long run, I'll just do a gel because that's easy. But if I'm doing like a cycle then stairs or a run then stairs or a cycle then lift, I usually try to bring like whole like a fruit or like another like sandwich type thing. Like I'll bring like a bread with some jam in between, or sometimes I'll do an energy bar, like a Cliff type. Not necessarily that brand, but something like that.
Do
Yeah.
you track your carbs per hour?
No. I don't really
Mm.
get into math too much. The only time I track my carbs extremely diligently are the 3 days leading up to a big race and then the day of the race. I'll work with ChatGPT, type in my body weight, things I like to eat, how long my race is going to be, how much I want a carb load, or like that I want a carb load, and I'll have it figure it all out for me.
And you write all of your programming?
Yes, I do it all myself.
Why don't you have a coach?
So there's a few reasons. I think that for a while, I don't have an income. Now I do through Saucony, but that's only recent. Like I just signed with them in December. So before I just didn't even want to add like another financial thing to my situation. But second reason is I feel like I have very limited free time to have extra socialization outside of like the socialization that fills my cup. So to think about having to message a coach like weekly or even daily, as I know some pro athletes do, felt like it would be kind of adding too much to my plate in like a stressful way, like that they wouldn't really be taking it off by not having to think about the workouts. If anything, I'd have to like update them more. And then the third is I just don't think a lot of coaches understand the cross training thing. In fact, I've had messages of coaches being like, if you just ran 5 or 6 days a week, I know you would be better. Like, I'll sign with you, whatever.
Of
But
course. Yeah, of
yeah,
course
I'm
I
not
do.
gonna, yeah,
I'm not in the running world by any means, and I'm obviously going to be very respectful, but I'm allowed to be a little bit of a chirper to those people because I'm not signed to anything. So of course I do that kind of stuff, but I'm happy you've been able to kind of navigate that and stick to your course.
yeah. But if anything, now again, to reiterate, the biggest reason is it's a time commitment to have that full extra like diligent relationship with someone, you know? And like I'm not someone who wants to say, yes, I want you to be my coach and I'll adhere to everything and give you all my updates and then like HA it and not really give my full self to it. So yeah, I just never wanted to sign with anyone. But like you were self-coaching when you were doing all of your, right?
Yeah.
So you understand what it's like too, and this is a reason I'm just thinking of right now, but I'm curious your thoughts on it. Like, if you feel good one day, but the workout only says to do, I don't know, 6 miles, but you want to run 10, then like, why not capitalize and run 10, right? Did you ever think that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that some people can be self-coached at a certain level. The big piece of it is objectivity, in my opinion. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, especially athletes, are neurotic and emotionally driven and not regulated to the level that they should be. And because of that, they make a lot of changes to their training in the wrong ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think people, and again, I just met you, but my early assessments of you is that you're someone that is able to be objective.
Yeah.
So you would fit into that more rare subcategory of people like myself, where I could be objective with that kind of thing, right? Where it says run 10 miles at some odd pace and you're feeling great, so you do 12 instead. Some people, though, most people, I would say, would be feeling great and they would be like, you know what, let's just go for a half marathon PR, or let's throw down a bunch of 5 minute miles at the end and or 5:30 miles at the end and suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think most people can't regulate it that much.
Yeah.
But it sounds like obviously you can.
You do bring up a really good point about the ability to emotionally regulate and how that impacts an athlete's like performance in sports.
It's the
I
most
think
important thing.
I was really lucky, and now I'm gonna want to hear. This is going to be a build up small story of mine, and then ask you a question because our backgrounds are very different.
Love it.
I felt like I learned, if I can explain it like Swiss cheese, where maybe I only let positive emotions infiltrate on race day. Otherwise, I kept it pretty objective. Like, sort of in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to go swim against Katie Ledecky today, period. And only other emotions I let into that statement would be like if they were excitement or something like lots of positive adrenaline. Things like doubts or fear, I wouldn't let through the Swiss cheese. I would just stop it and be like, at the very least, let's be objective about the goal at hand today. So I put myself in a lot of high pressure situations in swimming and felt like I learned how to detangle my worth and my emotions and the fact that my family loves me and a lot has built up to this, and with just like this is a race and it's a blip in my life and I'll move on no matter what the result is. I learned that maybe late high school, and that's why I can toe the line against pro runners that are way faster than me and still feel okay. Not like, oh, I'm gonna go smash, I'm gonna go crush them. Not like that, but just I'm gonna race and it'll all be okay. So I'm curious to know, when you would put yourself in high pressure situations where the felt like high risk, high reward, like I could very well fail today, fail miserably. How did you regulate your emotions?
Knowing that the end goal mattered more than how I felt in the moment. And what I mean in that is, in order for me to accomplish what I set out to accomplish, I know that I have to be even-minded.
Hmm.
And so in the moments when different emotions kind of presented themselves to me, I would, yeah, compartmentalize. And I have no, shame or weirdness in saying that. Like I just wouldn't acknowledge them. And I would say very even. And one
Mhm.
thing that I learned is, especially when you're doing like ultra stuff,
Yeah.
is a lot of physical and mental pain and suffering is going to be inevitable. And that the more even I am across the board, the better I am to navigate it. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, knowing that I'm not going to be able to get through, like when honestly, one of the things where this was most prevalent for me is when I almost died in the ICU, right? So because I set those records, I was crushing it, training with tier one military guys. And when I went to the ICU for 13 days and almost died, um, I applied that. And I
Yeah.
was able to compartmentalize because it was during COVID, right? So my mom wasn't allowed to visit me. All my visits were on phone call,
Oh
but I was
my
kind
God.
of incoherent anyways. So yeah, I think that's kind of how, yeah, just realizing that it's important to stay even-minded. If I want to do the thing, I have to be even-minded. And that kind of helped me a lot. And I think then over time, it's like, I don't know the neuroscience of it, but like neuroplasticity, right? The more I did it, the better I got at it. And
Yes.
it's hilarious because it actually blended into my corporate career. And then a lot of people that were up and coming leaders in corporate would ask me like they want to learn it or how to do it. And
Yeah.
a lot of them that did develop it, and some of them I still talk to that are elevated leaders in the corporate world, swear by it
Mhm.
of just being like even, you know.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
different than you though. You were good. You said the Swiss cheese thing, like a filtration. You let the excitement in. I actually didn't let the excitement in. I don't think it's a, I think it's an and conversation. I don't think it's right versus wrong because obviously it worked really well for you. But yeah,
Okay. Okay. So I guess then, like, that's so interesting. Do you think that in a hypothetical world where you were about to, let me think, do a big debate against someone and you felt really passionately toward your side of the subject and there was money on the line or something big, I don't
sure.
know. Do you feel like you would have like that butterflies, like little bit of sweating, like nervousy feeling? Or no, not even at all. Your sympathetic nervous system would not even be like kicking in.
It would be very minimal if it was at this
Okay, so
point in my
you've
life.
almost trained. I do think that we're describing, while the outcome might be similar, which is we're not emotionally volatile and we don't tie our worth to our athletic accomplishments. That's the outcome. Our approaches are actually quite different.
Yeah.
You've learned to like almost minimize even like from a nervous system level, whereas I feel like I'm one step after, which is I let the nervous system feel and then I appraise it as this must be exciting adrenaline because I'm not letting it be anything else, you know?
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it than I said it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, like there's like a champion's mindset, there's many different roads to get there. I do think, though, and a hill that I will die on in any debate setting with anyone is that emotional regularity has to happen to be excellent, in my
Yes.
opinion. Um, and again, I think there's a lot of context within that, I guess, because it doesn't mean that you're doing my approach or like the stoic approach, right? Like you can have your approach where you're letting that adrenaline filter.
Hmm.
Um, Does that make sense? Like one thing I try to tell people too, and I'm sure you would agree, is that if someone's feeling nervous or adrenaline before a race, like that's a good thing. Like your body is giving you that signal for a reason, and you should kind of embrace it versus
Yeah.
suppress it. I think I got to a place because I'm just again older than you by maybe a decade, but yeah, decade. Um, Over time, I've just trained myself not to let it register at all.
Hmm.
Um, but when it did register and I did get that sympathetic reaction, I would embrace it versus suppress it for sure.
Yeah. I also think our approaches make so much sense for the events and types of things we were engaging in. Like, for example, do you want to have adrenaline for a 10K and half marathon? Yes, because that could actually help your performance. But if you get overly excited for an ultra,
Or even a marathon.
like that's yeah, or a marathon, like it could actually be bad for you because if you have a super high heart rate the first 10 miles because you were so pumped for this marathon slash a little nervous, then maybe by, 22, you're going to be conking out. So I actually feel like we've independently nailed our race mentalities.
Yeah, and I also looked at my life, right? So when I was kind of in the best shape of my life, I worked at 10 to 6. So I would get up at I don't know now, 4:30 or something,
Yeah.
and I would sandwich my training. So I guess that's or they call it brick, I don't know. but I would run, cycle, lift for a total of
That's
3
yeah.
hours, and that's
I
what you're
brick all
doing.
mine, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I go to work. But for me, when I was in, like, an elevated leadership role of dozens and dozens and a lot of people, I just learned that, like, in order for me to navigate that, not only the training load, but all these different personalities and interpersonal conflicts that I had to help resolve, and
Mm.
the more even I was, like, the more energy I conserved and the better I could be at everything.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you are, I mean, I think you're at a much higher level than me in both worlds, but for you, I'm just curious, like, do you feel that way when you have to train and then go to medical school or residency for the whole day, that you like that emotional regularity helps you kind of conserve energy?
Definitely, because I think that I'm someone where, like, if there are little stressors in my day, I really do not let it get to me. I just add it to my to-do list in, like, a very neutral way. Like, "Oh, okay, this annoying insurance thing isn't coming through," or "This thing to register for med school, like, big board exam didn't go through," whatever it might be. These are things that I think other people make up largely in their mind, but it almost always ends up working out. So yeah, I don't let little things get to me. I also just I make it super objective. If I'm feeling something emotional, it sounds kind of robotic. I don't even know if I should say this out loud, but it feels kind of emotional and it's getting to me, but there's an actionable thing. I put the emotion in a little box and I put it on my to-do list in my notes app. And then I'm like, okay, that emotion is done for the day. Which sounds kind of cold, but also you're so right, it conserves a lot of energy. It's like being a mental minimalist to maximize the things you love most in life. Then I feel like then at the end of the week, when maybe I'm celebrating a friend's engagement party, the fact that like my sister's planning like her wedding and also that it's grandma's birthday, whatever the things are, then I can really invest a lot of mental energy in the things that matter the most, you know? So I find that it pays like on the back end for me that I can then emotionally invest in things I really want to.
Yeah, I think the antidote to anxiety is action. And whether that's putting it in your notes app or that's objectively getting a task done, it's kind of the same process.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, yeah, fuck. I mean, you're so ahead of the game, right? Like I'm just trying to think now, like I'm 30, I'm almost 34. I'm 34 in a couple days. And it took me, I didn't figure this stuff out until I was like 30. And so for you to be at 23 and doing this, like it's incredible. So it's always inspiring having these conversations because, yeah, if you do it like where you are right now from a mental standpoint, I would be very confident in you being one of the best female marathon runners at some point in your career in America for sure.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. And who's to say, right? I have no idea. Um, I think having like 3 older sisters definitely helped me emotionally mature at a faster rate than your average like preteen or adolescent girl because it was always like waiting for Felicia to do the next thing or to like level up sort of and be at the same level of maturity as my older sisters. And then secondly, I was also like pushed ahead and went through schooling so quickly that all my peers were also older than me. So right now in medical school, like I entered medical school at how 20? Yes, at 20 years old, which some of my colleagues were 25, 26, 27. In fact, at NYU, it's such a very competitive institution. It's very common to take a lot of gap years and have other work experience before entering instead of going straight through. So I do credit that. But some people I find like what we're describing works for us really well, but like lack of emotional volatility might not work for everyone. Some people just need to like sit and really feel their emotions and not be so action oriented. And I think that may also work. It kind of just depends on what you want the outcome to be.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you don't want to come across as like elitist that like my ways of being or processes
Right.
don't
I
work for
want to
everyone.
acknowledge that. Yes.
Yeah. I also think that me just being super privileged and around all these individuals, I don't know a single person who I consider extraordinary at something that doesn't have this skill.
Oh, of like self regulating emotions, basically. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, yeah, I think there's a time and place to feel emotions. I think you don't want to be the, the 50-year-old guy who's suppressed his emotions his entire life and now
Yeah.
like as an example, because I'm sure we all know those kinds of folks. But like, I think it's more like a time and place, right? So when you are going to sit with those emotions or work through those things, it's at the right time. And for me, the right time isn't when I'm in a situation where I have to make an objective decision in a leadership role for people, right?
Mhm.
So it's almost like I'm going to suppress it for that duration of time and then acknowledge it later. But also, I don't know you, but I found for myself that the more I improved this skill, the less I had to process on the back end. Like smaller things just didn't register to me. Always
Yes.
use the example, and this always upsets people, but I judge a man a lot by how easily angered he is in traffic, right? Because like
Mhm.
to let something so far outside of your control and someone swerving in your lane like ruin your day or make you angry or want to yell, like if
Yeah.
you can't emotionally regulate that, then what else can't you emotionally regulate in your life? Right. So I think that those things are super important. Um,
Yeah.
like if you're
I agree.
walking to the gym and some guy kind of like honks his horn really loud near you and it startles you, but if you let that ruin your mindset, like you're letting it derail your training and then your day, like it just I'm not saying those were human, but those things should be developed, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, they should be able to wash over us like waves. Like, okay, that happened and I'm just gonna keep living my day. I think in medicine, I'll also say it's super helpful to have this mentality because like I remember very vividly when I was working during my sub internship month, which is general medicine adult in on the wards, and you're supposed to act at the level of a resident doctor, but you're still a medical student. That month for me was in October, and I was caring for a patient who found out he found out that visit that he had hepatocellular carcinoma, and it was very late stage liver cancer, very late stage. And so much so affecting him that there were so many masses and they were so large that surgery had consulted and said, we don't even know where we would stent because there's too many like small tumors, so to speak, to be able to prolong his life. So we were having a conversation with the family about like palliative care and hospice services. And that unfolded and watching these labs and calling all these consults that I did for surgery and the hematology oncology team and the hepatology team. And then having to report back because I'm the general medicine person who has to come back and tell him and his family every time, and it was always bad news, was horrible. That month was really, really hard on me, both for the hours and the patient load and the stress, but especially this patient. And he was like the most horrible diseases happen, I swear, to the sweetest people. Um, but to be able to compartmentalize and, like, for instance, still lay my head down in bed and think, "I'm doing the best as I can as a future physician, and that's all I can do," and not feel so emotionally invested, I think really helped me. So sometimes people ask like, well, are there really any direct correlations between what the skills you've learned in sport and the skills that you'll use like, in your professional field? And this could be for anything. But I'm just, for me, it's medicine. It's like definitely emotional regulation and having that like emotional IQ for yourself is so important. Even if it comes at the cost of like do people describe me as like super fuzzy and like, oh, I've had all these great like romantic relationships? No, definitely not. So it has its downfalls, but yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And one thing that I find with the field so just for reference, my stepfather growing up, he's a surgeon. So I'm not a
Okay.
doctor in the medical field. I obviously had someone very close to me in my life that was a surgeon still is, but was a surgeon when he was my stepfather. And um, I get that when you're on the outside, you want to criticize a doctor for not having more emotions towards a situation.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like they have other patients and they have to make objective decisions. So it's a tough balance because you can't, like my stepfather, for example, like every day he can't sit beside a patient and cry and then
Right.
he has to go into surgery the next hour or the next day or the next it's tough, right? And I remember my when I got my surgery done, which is a super rare surgery, it's a big whole thing. When I went in, I opened the doors, I go in, my doctor, he's a great guy. I was like, "What's going on, man? What's going on?" He's like, "Good." I'm like, "You stressed?" He's like, "Nope, but there's a big surgery in the room over there that that I'm working on, and but he's got to operate on my legs. So it's like that he's got to be able to compartmentalize. Like there's some big surgery, some aortic aneurysm thing going on in the room next door, but now he's got to be able to shift his focus to be solely on me. So yeah, like being a doctor, I get it. Like I understand it. I think it's weird because you're in such a humanistic job, but you
Mhm.
also have to be a bit robotic as well. Like it's hard to balance. I honestly don't know. Um, Especially when you have patients that the symptoms don't match the test results. And you got to play that in the fact like it's a lot. I don't obviously know how to do it, but I get it from a sense of
Yes.
that I wouldn't hate on a doctor for not having more emotions towards the situation.
Mhm. And it's like the thing about in when you're trained in medical school, we do practice. They're called OSCEs, which is like a practice interaction with a paid standardized patient who's an actor, but they do a really wonderful job truly acting as like a patient to help future physicians become good at different skills, I'll just say. We do at least one a year of breaking like bad news to a patient and having to sit with them in the awkward silences and let them feel the feels and show emotions, but also deliver objective data that is just bad, that is horrible for them to hear. And that is well taught. So I feel confident in the delivery of bad news. But you know what's not, and I don't want to say not well taught, but just not taught is how does the medical student or actual physician go home after they've delivered bad news and what do they do to self-regulate? That they don't teach. So you have to all throughout medical training be checking in frequently. Like, am I okay? That was a big day today. Like I remember when I was on like the pediatric cancer unit, working with children all day who have leukemia and lymphoma and they're 3 or 4 years old is heart-wrenching, but to be able to go in, break the bad news to the family, feel the empathy with them, and then walk out of the room and just self-check, that part you have to kind of teach yourself. So I think that athletics and also like having a really like open, emotional, and affectionate family, I think also really helped because I learned from a young age like it's okay to talk about your emotions and say them out loud and then let them sit and then solve it and move on, you know? So I think that has really helped.
Yeah, I mean, first responders have PTSD at the same rates as
Yeah.
people that serve in war, right? So it's yeah, I think it's largely misunderstood because I mean, I probably cried more in the last year than I have in my entire life combined. And I think it's more just like a time and place for it and when that is.
Mhm.
So I think the old me though was very much like compartmentalized, but never acknowledged the back end of the emotions, which I think
Yeah.
which obviously ended up burning me. But I think over time, and it's so interesting, right? Because sometimes point of authority is helpful, right? Because a lot of people will look at what I've done in my life and see me as this big savage guy and paint whatever they want to paint me as. So that when I talk about being vulnerable and crying, it's accepted because you can't tell the guy who ran all those miles, did all those pull ups, broke all those bones, had all these surgeries that he's not tough. So I'm in an easy place.
Mhm.
So I feel for men who maybe haven't done all those things and have that point of authority, and then they start opening up about those sorts of things. They get treated a bit differently, right? So I don't know. It's tough. I think though that you nailed it, where you have to have an emotion, you have to have an outlet somehow, which makes me kind of curious about something. I'm just going to ask you: do you fear not having like a significant other or a boyfriend during this time would affect that?
No, 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 I don't. I laugh because I feel like my life is so socially fulfilled and I feel so loved that I don't have a hole right now that I think needs to be filled like romantically. I think and I hope that eventually that like opens up that like desire to like actually date someone for real. But right now, I have all the people in my life that I need, and like the power of female friendship here in New York City has been revolutionary in terms of my ups and downs and struggles with balancing everything. So, no, I don't really fear that. I
Yeah,
think I
you're
was
super
starting to
cool.
get
This is jokes. It's fun.
oh,
By the way, you don't know me very well, right? So I have egotistically, I have no fear of asking questions. Like
Yeah.
the first question I asked the general was, "Does he think he's special?" Like, I don't have that complex, and I think that's why I do think that's why a lot of people enjoy the conversations that I'm having is because I've had people tell me, like, sometimes I ask the person the question that they want other interviewers to ask, but they just don't ask it. And I'm
Mhm.
not judging, like, some people just don't do it. But yeah, no, I think it's cool though, because you're someone that I felt that I could ask that question to, and it's not gonna land weird or be like this whole thing. Um,
No, no, it doesn't land
you've
weird
been
at
so
all.
cool
Like,
the whole time. You've been
yeah,
great
and also
about it.
the thing is, like, people know that I'm super transparent. Like, my page is just very much who I am, and the fact that, like, that has never come up, I think people get curious. They're like, "So, what's going on there?" But I don't know, eventually, when I have more time and more of a desire, I'm sure, like, I'll probably start dating, but, yeah, for the time being I also honestly feel bad, like, if I had a boyfriend, I would feel bad for him because I just live my life so particularly that at some point they're gonna be like, "Wait, what if I just want a morning where we just, like, chill?" And I would be like, "That's not wait, sorry, that's not on my Google Calendar."
It's funny because dating this is gonna be interesting. So, I think dating you would be similar to, like, what women experience when they date a Navy SEAL. And the reason why I'm gonna say that is because, well, my he's not a Navy SEAL, he's the Canadian equivalent of it. He's retired now, but they're gone 300 days a year, and they're super regimented in their lifestyle, obviously, as you can imagine. It's no different than you are. So, yeah, you're right. It's the same kinda thing where it's like, yeah, I wanna have a morning together, but it's like, "No, bitch, I'm up at 4 AM, I gotta do my thing."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
it's
would
like
have to
hop on the
find
train
yeah, you would
or
have to find someone who would be like, I mean, this isn't relationship advice, but I'm guessing you'd have to find someone who'd be, like, super chill with that. Does that, like, worry you though? Like, when you go through medical school, you're a pro runner and a practicing physician, like, it I don't know, like, is someone in that world gonna be able to find time to even have a family or a relationship? I don't know.
um, I mean, I've seen, like, marathon so I wanna become a breast radiologist, that's my eventual goal. I've had Cleveland Clinic, and I'm gonna do my residency at Cleveland Clinic. Cleveland Clinic breast radiologists who are also mothers who run marathons say, like, they do it all. So there are examples ahead of me, that it is possible. And I think with time and enough support, like, I can make it all happen. I also think I'm being a little bit over exaggerating in terms of my schedule. Like, the fact that I have really, really firm female friendships, and that's never really been a problem with them. I haven't had many friends say, "I have to end this friendship because it feels like you never have time for me, you're not there, or your schedule's way too strict." Like, no one has ever said that to me before. So, unless I'm just, like, so missing the mark and not self-aware at all, but I have a lot of firm friendships, which makes me promise that eventually I'll be okay.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine. I'm just curious because I rarely talk to someone who does the amount of hours that you do from the female side of things.
Yeah.
So, and I try to make an effort, right? Like, I don't hunt genders for the podcast, but I also realize I'm a guy, and a lot of my friends are guys, and a lot of the guys that I talk to are guys. So, or the people I talk to are guys. So I
Yeah.
also like I do try to make a point of like I do reach out to more females than males, just because I don't want the podcast to be 95% male and 5% female guests. So,
Yeah.
I just want to take the advantage of the opportunity, um, in this conversation to ask that. Another thing I'm curious of is you seem like pretty grounded and humble, farmers market, living on the ranch, Ohio.
Mhm.
You obviously are going to be going into a career where you're going to make a lot of money. What's your plan on staying grounded as you become this amazing running phenom? You're making all this crazy money. Everyone's telling you you're God's gift to the earth.
Mhm.
What's your plan?
Even when I started being salaried as a pro runner, I noticed myself still adhering to my thrifty ways of, like, not even paying $3 to Subway, like, I'll walk there, or, um, never like, I don't really eat out too much at restaurants because I make all my own meals or do friend potlucks, that way none of us have to pay, or, like, I'll never actually pay for clothes, I'll only ever wear hand-me-downs, or if I do, like, it's always a thrift store. Like, I'm a very, very thrifty person. always like public transit to the airport instead of taking the Uber. There's so many ways I live my life to save money. And because that's how I was raised, and I also think that if we were all a bit more resourceful, there would just be a lot less waste and materialism in the world in general. So that's just like a principle I live by, and I think that that is so deeply rooted. I won't ever lose that because like I said, even when I started developing the salary, I felt like I would be losing a part of me if I were to just, I don't know, start carelessly spending money on fancy dinners and like a new pair of leggings. But I will say one plan I do have to let myself be a little more free and less frugal when I have a doctor's salary, I've decided, is I will be willing to pay more if it means, like, getting time back, like, so for convenience sake, like, instead of checking 3 stores to see which has Greek yogurt on sale, I might just go to the first store that I saw and be like, "I'm here now, I'm just gonna get it," you know? Or eventually, if I need a little help, like, cleaning or something like that, that would be okay if it meant that I had more time with my kids. Again, that's, like, way down the line, but I think it's all about balance. Like right now I'm a Planet Fitness girl. Maybe I'll do one step above a Planet Fitness membership. I don't know that I'll ever be like an Equinox lifetime girly, but I think you can't though take the frugality out of can't take it out of me.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought was crazy when I was looking through your profile. I'm like, this chick is training at Planet Fitness. Like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
In the most respectful way possible. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for you, but and admiration. But yeah, that was super cool. Like, I really, yeah, the whole process of getting you on here, I think a lot of it was you're very grounded, and I think that it kind of will help show people that you can live that way and still crush life. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I've never seen someone with a Louis Vuitton purse and thought they were happy in life. Like they just seem to be pretty miserable people. So I'm not again, I'm a straight shooter, but there's better things in life than
totally. Exactly. And that's why I'll double down on the concept of like, well, I'll never say, like, click this link to buy this thing. I don't wanna say never, because if it's something I really believe in, like a fuel, like a protein powder or an electrolyte I really believe in, then I will say, "Hey, here's what I use," just for transparency. But I never want someone to think that the only way to get good at a sport, get good at your craft, like whether that be medicine or law, is that you needed to have like tutors, coaches, nutrition, dietitian, Normatech, all the technology, all the new gear. You don't need any of that, really. You just need a good support system, you need good sleep and good time management, and you can get there. And I want anyone in any financial situation to feel like they can at least take the reins of their health. And I know this is coming out of a place of privilege in that I have a functional body. Like I know that not everyone can just go for a run. So I don't want to diminish the individuals who have to like make those sacrifices or like pay for a pool membership. Maybe that's the only way they can work out. But in general, for the
yeah,
general
I know what you mean.
population, you don't need money to take care of your health.
Yeah, you can go to I mean, my first pair of running shoes, I wore them to the ground, but they were just like a cheap pair of New Balances. And
Mhm.
I did pretty well in my athletic career, and I probably used those. I can only I was making like I was working at a Jack Astor's. I was probably making like 45 grand a year. Like I was barely paying rent, and I got this cheap pair of shoes, and I would just go outside and hammer miles, right? So I think that you're right. You can if you have an able body, you can get pretty far. I think that's a good message, actually. I think to get to that, that upper echelon, there's definitely some things, but for the most part,
Sure, sure.
especially with endurance training, I think most people, because it's just time and an elevated heart rate, like you can get pretty
Mhm.
good at a Planet Fitness. I mean, you're living proof of that. Like
Yes.
you're like an elite athlete. Because what is the as we're wrapping up here? Because don't worry, I got to check on time. What are the top echelon American females running on good courses? Like 220?
Sub 220. Oh, wait, American. Wait, that throws a wrench. Because I've been like mostly just keeping track of the most elite female marathoners, which are never Americans, but yeah, like 220s, I would say, flat courses.
And what's the world record right now? It's like 211 or something.
Yeah, something around 211 or 212.
Didn't she test positive for something or no? Was that someone else?
You know, I don't know what the outcome was on that. I'm not so good at keeping up with all of
Yeah,
it.
no, it's fair.
Yeah,
And I don't wanna, like that's something I definitely wanna be careful of because I don't wanna misspeak, so everyone look on ChatGPT to find out. I don't know the answer. But,
yeah,
um
we're not spitting facts here. We're fully saying we don't really
yeah,
know.
I don't really know. But, yeah, so I guess and you're 235, so, I mean, 23, yeah, you can keep shaving it down.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that if I there's a time in my life where I need to take a break from the marathon and I just start refining, like, my 10K and half, then I'll do that, and then I'll hop back up to the marathon when I'm older, sturdier, and, like, out of my 5-year grueling residency training, which is, like, another component that I feel like people sometimes forget about. I'm like, I also have, like, career things to think about. Uh, but yeah, I'm excited. I think, the best parts of my career are yet to come.
A couple quick rapid fires before we go. A lot of this conversation I spent a lot of time thinking about this conversation this week, and I listened to a lot of interviews that you've done or the ones you have done,
Mhm,
and a lot of them are really great, and they are directed towards your training, your career.
mhm,
I wanted to have a bit of a different approach, and I almost try to, like, humanize the people that we view as inhuman. So I like
mhm.
talking about emotions and feelings and stories and growing up in life. I do wanna ask a couple rapid fire questions about training
Okay,
as we finish up. A couple of my guy friends will kill me if I don't ask a couple questions because they've been bugging me. So
okay.
hours a week that you not strength training, so hours a week that you're doing cross training aerobic work.
Would be about 2 to 2.5 on non-run days and an hour on run days, so maybe, um, at least 12.
And then adding running, you're doing 16, 16 and a
Yeah,
half, 16 to 17-ish
mhm, that's
a,
reasonable.
a week.
Yeah.
How much protein do you eat a day?
I don't track, but every meal and I eat about 5 meals a day, I try to hit at least 20 grams of protein. So add it up, at least 100 grams of protein a day.
What do you do in the last hour of your day to be able to sleep?
No blue light 30 minutes before bed, blue light glasses if it's required to have the blue light. I usually talk with a family member or hang out with a friend. Then I'll come back, set out my clothes for the next day, and I'll do the exact same thing of like brush teeth. No, wait, floss, brush, mouthwash, make sure clothes are out, take blue light glasses off, charge phone, set it aside, lay in bed.
Number one piece of advice for a high school female runner who wants to be like you one day.
Make your training so that it pushes your limits and you're frequently testing your limits, but that in a sustainable way. So whether that be reducing mileage, fueling appropriately, sleeping, combination hopefully of all of those and not socially isolating, just make sure your training is sustainable. But by all means, test your limits. Be curious about how far you can push your body.
Got it. And the last question I have for you. Hmm. I've been talking between three questions. All right. So if this is the end result being right now because the future hasn't happened yet,
Yeah.
if you could go back in time to the start of high school, what's the one thing that you would have done differently to get to where you are right now?
I wish I took ownership of my own training and said out loud, I train differently as early as freshman year. I wish it didn't take a stress fracture and then on crutches for a stress reaction and some bursitis in my knee throughout high school for me to realize sometimes I need to tell my coaches, this is what I need for my body. And I'll still be training hard, but it's going to look different. I wish I did that even earlier.
Well, everyone, this was Felicia and a great conversation. I really appreciate you uh, creating the time. I don't know that you know, but this conversation has significantly opened up many doors for this podcast. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on. Really, this has been a wonderful conversation, and I greatly appreciate you exploring all aspects of who I am.
We'll maybe we'll do it again one day, but until then, we'll wrap it up here.